The reason why you're having a bad experience when you're visiting an art museum or an art gallery is simply because you're making one of these five common mistakes everybody do when they view art. Each person view art in a different perspective, but the best way for you to enhance your art experience is to avoid these five common mistakes. Hi, I'm Lucy. Welcome to the exclusive behind the scenes access to the Lucy Shop Arts Gallery. In today's Art Talk episode, I'm going to share with you the five practical tips for you to view art in a different perspective and enjoy your artistic visit, especially when you visit an art museum. Let's directly jump into it and start with tip number one. Take your time and slow down. As simple as it sounds, 90% of the people rush into their art museum tours, especially when they're visiting a big art museum, because they believe that they want to check all the art pieces in just 1 hour because they don't have enough time except that 1 hour and they don't want to miss anything. But trust me, it is so worth it to take your time, especially when you're visiting an art museum in your travel. You won't be able to have this chance next time to enjoy this art museum slowly. So make sure when you visit an art museum, if you're putting a plan to check this museum in 1 hour, plan 2 hours ahead. And the common mistake that people do, specifically related to time, is that when you're planning to check a specific art piece and when you see that art piece for the first time, probably most of the time you're gonna see it underrated because overrated because you have high expectations for that art piece. So give yourself the permission to take your time and look at all the details in the art piece, which leads me to tip number two. Observe the details. Focus on the elements of the painting, the brush strokes, the techniques, the color combinations, the texture of the painting, how the artist applied shadows and light through the painting. All these elements are extremely important for you to connect more and to view the painting in a different perspective. And the best way to get the chance to look at these paintings up close is try to schedule your art museum visit not in the rush hour in order to take your time and to observe the elements as well. Tip number three, consider the context. Think about the background and reflect on the historical, cultural, and personal context of this painting. Without a doubt, this is the most important tip that I can give you, and I cannot focus on it enough. And every single person who joined my art workshop, I always give them the same advice. Do a small research before you check the art piece that you are aiming to look at. Let's give an example. 95% of the people who go visit the Louvre in Paris and see the Mona Lisa, they think it's overrated. And the main reason why is because they didn't do a small research before they saw this amazing masterpiece. It's not only important to take your time and check the details, it is highly important to do a small research. Just watch a small documentary, read a little bit about it. Once you do so, it is guaranteed that you're going to see this art piece, this masterpiece, in a completely different perspective because you'll be able to know the story behind it, the history behind it, the cultural context behind it. For example, the Mona Lisa, there's a science discovery behind it. Did you know that? So make sure that you always do a small research, especially when you're aiming to visit an art museum for a specific art piece. Once you do that, you're going to view this art piece in a completely different perspective. Number four, engage emotionally. I am sure that sometimes you saw that one painting that makes you feel so happy and joyful, or it made your soul and mind at peace. Or maybe the moment you saw that painting, it makes you feel so angry, stressed, and anxious, and probably paranoid. I experienced that before. Probably you and me are looking at the same exact painting. It makes me feel so happy, but it makes you feel so anxious. Why? Because paintings are meant to be connected to our feelings and emotions. And once you give yourself the permission to connect with that painting, you will experience art in a different perspective and you will view this art piece differently. Probably, if you look at this painting and it makes you feel happy and joyful, this painting is going to end up being your favorite painting. And probably, if you look at this painting and it makes you feel so anxious and sad, this painting made you feel something. It made you let your emotions out. Probably it was so hard for you to give yourself the permission to feel sad or angry about this something. But once you saw that painting, it helped you to let your emotions out. So give yourself the permission to connect with the painting emotionally. ask questions. I'm going to share with you a personal story here to prove to you that sometimes asking one question can change your entire art experience, especially when you're visiting an art museum. A few years back, when I was visiting an art museum in Milan, Italy, I made sure that I did my entire research and all the context that I need in order to understand all the art pieces that I want, and I won't miss any corner in this humongous art museum. And I made sure that there was one specific room in the art museum that is dedicated to Leonardo da Vinci. Following the map that I have and checking all the art pieces related to da Vinci, and at the end, I was standing in that room in front of this amazing masterpiece for that artist and his student. I was looking around and I realized that all the other paintings and the sculptures definitely are not related to Da Vinci. Now, I gave myself the permission and enjoyed my time and look at all these wonderful masterpieces, but there's that specific room that I want to look at. I want to know what's the story behind that room. So there was a guide who was standing in the corner, and I approached her and I asked her that I am so sure that there's a room related to Leonardo da Vinci. Is it in that museum or I'm mistaken? She told me no, it is in that museum, but currently that room is under renovation and they're doing some painting restoration for that painting, so people are not able to enter that room. So I told her, so there is no way for me to see that painting or to see that room or to see what's the story behind that painting. She told me, yeah, I will take you, which I was so thrilled. But she told me that I am not allowed to pass the bars because there are bars that are shut because they need to make sure that everything is prepped and stayed in the condition that they want in order to do the painting restoration. So when I went there to that room, I was the only one, me and my husband, looking at this room. And I was looking around and I told her, what's so special about that room? She told me, look up. And I looked up and I was so amazed that I saw the biggest ceiling fresco painting Leonardo da Vinci ever created. And before that day, I didn't knew that Leonardo da Vinci painted a ceiling fresco or a fresco other than the Last Supper. I was so amazed and so grateful that I took the chance and asked her that one question, because me asking her that question and looking at this room, and I took my time and showed me you can stay there as much as you want, you can take pictures, videos, do whatever you want as long as you don't pass the bar. I was so happy and so excited, and my experience visiting that art museum was completely different. And the most important thing, I view Leonardo da Vinci's art now in a different perspective, and I want to know more about that ceiling fresco. So do not be afraid and do not hesitate to ask questions, because the guide who is available in the art museum are the best people who can help you and guide you, especially if you have questions related to any specific art piece or painting, or if you want to ask them that simple question, that what's the hype behind that painting, or what's the secret behind that room, or what's the story behind that statue. They are there to help you. I guarantee you, if you adjust and apply these 5 practical tips whenever you visit an art gallery, an art museum, or even an art exhibition, you are going to view art in a completely different perspective. And the most important thing, your art experience will be so much enjoyable. If you find this episode helpful, give it a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting Art Talk episodes coming up next. And I'm gonna leave another link right here to another Art Talk episode that I'm sure you're gonna enjoy. Mistakes to avoid when you visit an art gallery. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.